My name is Evelyn Harper, and for 82 years I have lived my life by one simple belief: that love, patience, and sacrifice could fix anything. I thought if I gave enough, forgave enough, endured enough, the people I loved would one day understand what I'd done for them. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. Now, as I sit in the quiet of this old house, with my lungs betraying me more each day, I realize I wasn't just a fool. I was the architect of my own suffering. And this is the story of how I stopped being the victim and became something else entirely. The quiet before the storm. The doctors say the cancer has spread too far. A year, maybe less. Funny, isn't it? You spend decades fighting for life, and then one day a stranger tells you it's almost over, like a clerk closing your account. But I don't fear death. What I fear is leaving behind everything I worked for, my house, my art, my savings, in the hands of people who never truly cared for me. My son Daniel and his wife Clara. Daniel was my pride, my miracle. I raised him alone after his father, Robert, died in a car accident when Daniel was only 9. I remember holding that boy through endless nights, promising him he'd never have to worry. I worked 2 jobs, sold my jewelry to pay for his college, and when he wanted to start his law firm, I mortgaged my own home to help him. Everything I had, time, money, love, I gave to him, and Clara, sweet, polished, perfect Clara. She came into Daniel's life like sunlight. I thought she was a blessing. I thought she loved him, loved us. I thought wrong. Mother's Day, it started small, as most betrayals do. This past Mother's Day, I spent 3 days preparing dinner. Roasted lamb, Clara's favorite lemon tart, the crystal glasses Robert and I had bought on our honeymoon. The house smelled of rosemary and butter and something like hope. By 6 o'clock, I had lit the candles. By 7, I was still waiting. By 8, the food had gone cold, and so had my heart. When I finally called Daniel, the phone rang once before going to voicemail. Clara's message came half an hour later. Sorry, Mother, we're out of town. Hope you understand. Out of town? But I saw the pictures later, smiling at a seaside resort, wine glasses raised, captioned, perfect family, perfect family. Except for me, of course, the old woman who paid for everything but never fit in the picture. That night, as I sat at the table alone, I realized something had shifted. The pain I felt wasn't just loneliness anymore. It was humiliation, betrayal, and something colder. The first spark of anger. The discovery weeks later, while searching for an old deed, I stumbled across a folder hidden in Daniel's desk in my study. He had access to my papers ever since I gave him power of attorney, a decision I now see as the worst mistake of my life. Inside were documents I didn't recognize, property transfers, account authorizations, legal signatures that looked eerily familiar. My name was on all of them, but I hadn't signed a single one. The shock made my knees weak. Daniel, my own son, had sold 3 of my rental homes and transferred the profits into an offshore account. He had forged my signature, the one I used to sign his permission slips when he was a boy. And Clara? Her name appeared on every single wire transaction. She had co-signed. She knew. I sat there for hours, the papers trembling in my hands, the room spinning. All those nights I had prayed for Daniel's happiness, all those years of pride, gone, replaced by a sickening mix of rage and disbelief. When I confronted Daniel, he smiled, actually smiled, and said, "Mom, it's for your own good. You can't manage these things anymore. You forget too much." Forget? I could still remember every sleepless night I worked to pay for his education. I could remember every time I went hungry so he could eat. But somehow, in his mind, I had become disposable. The mask after that, I stopped being Evelyn the mother. I became Evelyn the ghost. I pretended to lose track of conversations. I repeated questions on purpose. I let my hands tremble when I signed papers. Daniel and Clara believed the performance instantly. Their pitying smiles told me everything I needed to know. poor old mom. She's fading. Good. Let them think that. Behind their backs, I hired Marla Jensen, a retired private investigator who had once worked with my late husband. Quietly, she began digging, through bank records, phone logs, and emails. What she found confirmed my worst fears. Daniel had funneled over $2 million into hidden accounts. Clara had opened shell companies in her name to manage my investments. And more than that, Clara had been tampering with my medication. Small changes. A pill swapped here, a dosage altered there. Nothing overt enough to kill me outright. Just enough to weaken me, to make me seem confused, frail, dying. I confronted no one. Not yet, because for the first time in my life I wasn't going to react. I was going to act. The trap I began to record everything. Their visits, their calls, their little conversations when they thought I was too foggy to notice. One evening, Clara stayed late, pretending to organize my medicine. She didn't notice the small camera hidden behind the vase. She said to Daniel on the phone, "She's barely holding on. Maybe a month, 2 at most. Once she's gone, the accounts transfer automatically. You'll sign the paperwork as executor. No one will question it." That single sentence was all I needed. For weeks I prepared. Legally, emotionally, meticulously. With Marla's help, I rewrote my will, revoked Daniel's power of attorney, and created the Harper Foundation, a trust that would channel my fortune to scholarships for single mothers. Every cent would go there. Not a dime to Daniel or Clara. Then I invited them to dinner. The Last Supper, the evening of the dinner, the house gleamed. Candles flickered, silverware shone, the air smelled of roast chicken and deceit. They arrived smiling, Clara radiant in her cream dress, Daniel in his expensive suit. "Mother," Clara said sweetly, "you look wonderful." "I feel wonderful," I replied. "Tonight is special." We ate in silence for a while. The air felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Then Daniel pulled out a stack of papers. "Mom, we just need your signature." "It's about the trust we talked about," I interrupted softly. "Oh yes, the trust." "The one for my foundation," he blinked. "Your what?" Before he could finish, I pressed the remote beside my plate. The television flickered to life. Clara's voice filled the room, her recorded words crystal clear. "Once she's gone, the accounts transfer automatically. No one will question it." The color drained from her face. Daniel turned pale, stammering, "What is this?" "It's called evidence," I said calmly. At that moment, 2 uniformed officers stepped into the room. Marla followed behind them, holding a file. "Mrs. Harper," she said, "we have everything ready." The officers read the charges: fraud, forgery, attempted homicide. Daniel tried to speak, but his words drowned under the sound of handcuffs clicking. Clara burst into tears. I watched them led away, my son, my daughter-in-law, and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge-fueled joy, just an aching quiet, because justice doesn't heal you, it only frees you. The aftermath. The weeks that followed were surreal. Neighbors whispered. Journalists called. Daniel and Clara's faces appeared on local news, their crimes laid bare. I signed the final papers for the Harper Foundation, ensuring my legacy would outlive the pain. Scholarships were created for struggling mothers, the kind I used to be. I sold the big house and moved into a small cottage near the coast. Quiet, peaceful, mine. Every morning I walk by the ocean, the salt air stinging my lungs, reminding me I'm still here. Sometimes I think of Daniel as a boy, how he used to draw pictures of the 2 of us holding hands. I keep one of those drawings in a frame by the window. Not out of nostalgia. Out of understanding, love made me weak once. Wisdom made me strong. The last lesson now, as I sit on the porch watching the sun dip below the waves, I can finally breathe. They say revenge consumes you, but that's not true. What consumes you is silence, the kind you live in when you let others decide your worth. I spent a lifetime giving. In the end, I took back one thing, myself, and that, I've learned, is the greatest act of love of all.